Welcome back to another episode of The Track Record. I'm here with Coach David Dobbs from Hewitt, Trussville. Coach, how you doing?
Doing great, man. Welcome to my back porch.
Thank you, sir. Coach Dobbs started coaching at Hewitt, Trussville in 1990, recently retired in 2022. He was a 4-time state track and field champion and a 6-time team runner-up at the state championship as well. In 2022, he was inducted into the Alabama High School Sports Hall of Fame. We're going to step back from those accolades, and we're going to first describe your upbringing and kind of your journey into coaching.
It started in high school. I was going to play football for the Banks Jets. They were the preeminent team in the early 70s. And the first couple of days of school, I was in a PE class with a bunch of other freshman football players, and they made us run the mile. And the coaches had 2 paddles and said, hey, if you don't run fast as we think, we're going to paddle you. And so I ran a sub 5-minute mile. Didn't know what a mile was. I just ran fast. And the next couple of days, I was told I was never playing football for Banks. I was going to run cross country, and didn't really know what that was, and ran. I was not very good in high school. I was not very disciplined at all. Had some great guys on our team. We didn't have full-time coaches, let's put it that way. Workouts were pretty much on our own. So I wasn't disciplined enough. There was other interests I had. I got in a lot of trouble in high school. And, that of high school, that was the thing that I related to the most. And I happened to go back 2 years after I graduated and was going to go into coaching. Don't know why I wanted to do that. I got sort of talked into it by my high school coach, who was now the principal of the school. He said, hey, I think you'll make a great coach and a great teacher. And he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. I certainly didn't. And his attitude was, you got in so much trouble in high school that no kid's going to give you any trouble. So that's where I got to, and this is where I started coaching. I started at Banks in 1977 as a student coach with a guy some people might know, David Cutcliffe, who was just left Duke. He and David and I were old friends, and so it was great. That's how I got into it.
What kind of trouble did you get into as a kid?
Oh my gosh, a lot of fights. I had a chip on my shoulder. I was real little. I didn't have a growth spurt till after I graduated high school. Okay. Just had a little punk attitude, and so it didn't get me well. Had some teachers didn't like me, but the guy that was our coach ended up being my assistant principal also, and sort of pulled my tail out of the fire a few times.
Yeah. And what did you teach when you started teaching?
I've always taught science, any kind of science. I've always taught it. I'm PE certified also. I've taught PE too, but mainly science. I've taught every science the state can offer.
What drew you to science, maybe as a kid?
Yeah, I just like to tinker with stuff. Sort of before we moved to the city, I grew up on a farm, and I was always out in the field, and I had the kid chemistry set that's probably banned now, it's illegal, and was blowing stuff up, and that's what we like to do. And just that stuff the natural world always fascinated me. I like being out in the woods.
Right. Looking back over 30+ year career, give me 1 or 2 athletes that really impacted your career.
I would say probably here in Trussville in the 90s, Aaron Kelly, who was a multi-time state champion runner, ran at Sanford and then finished up a career at Georgia. That was our first state champion here, and she was the one that really sort of motivated a lot of the girls. We had a very strong girls team in the late 90s. And it won, 2 state championships for the girls in track and field. And then Jahan Trone, who's Jahan Lovey, she coaches for us now at Hewitt. She was a multi-time state champion sprinter and hurdler, ran at Alabama. So those 2 in the 90s, and then, probably the 2000s, Randy Curry in the sprints, he was a multi-time 400 state champion. Barry Milhorn was 400, 800 state champion. We had a lot of that sort of wons and fed, and then really we got into the teens, we had Noah Igbenogany in the jumps and sprints, and then Veronica Lyle in the distance. So those are the ones that sort of the big names were out there. We've had many some of you guys watch this don't feel offended. We've had many state champions, and there's a lot, but you just wanted to give you a few. So there we go.
Yeah. We were talking off the camera about Noah.
Yeah.
Can you kind of share what it's like coaching somebody of that high caliber who just actually, at the time of this recording, he just ran back a blocked field goal on Monday Night Football?
Yeah,
Sunday Night Football?
First score for Dallas in the season.
Yeah. So just what's that like coaching someone of his caliber?
He's very disciplined, and the reason he was so successful is he was very disciplined. His parents were track and field people collegiately and on the world level, which helps. But he's very quiet. He was very disciplined. He did exactly what you told him to do. He's probably one of the few sprinters I know that ran 2 miles before workouts just to warm up, jog 2 miles, I should say.
Sure.
But he was very a student of his sport, and he knew where it would carry him.
Sure.
So yeah, it was very nice to have. Bless him.
We also, like I said earlier, 30-year career. What's the secret ingredient to longevity in this coaching game?
Don't get in a hurry. Things will happen. You're going to have, you got to fathom the average years. You got to fathom the bad years. You got to fathom the changes in school administration. But you stay true to yourself. Stay true to who you are as a coach. Let the kids see who you are, and that you don't change. And you can change your coaching style, and you can change how you look at things, but your core doesn't change. And the kids will know that, and they'll see that. And so that's the biggest thing is I can tell coaches now as they get frustrated, and I'm like, been there, had some lean years. But out of those lean years, you end up getting kids that, 20 years later, they come back to you and go like, those were the best years of my life. Right. And you've got to look at it that way. You're not there necessarily to win all the time. You're really there for the kids.
Right. Break down what you said there at the end. You have kids coming to you 20 years later. I'm sitting on your back porch with you right now.
Yep.
And you also shared to me off camera again the importance of this back porch and the relationships with the athletes. Can you just dive into that?
We have a lot of athletes that'll come into town, and we've lived in the same house now for 33 years, and just about the whole time we've been out here, and they'll call, hey coach, can I, I'm in town, and one this summer came by, and he was, hey, just got a minute, and he ended up bringing 3 other guys with him that ran for us, and it wasn't just a minute, it ended up being an hour, and we've had them come over, and they'll sit out here, and they're all adults now, and they'll talk, and some have things to say, some want to talk about old times, some will stay and eat dinner, and it's just, it's just known now as porch time. You got some porch time?
Sure.
And that's what it is. It's just a cool place to hang out. It's not a very big porch, but we're here. We're here for you.
It gets the job done.
Yeah.
Not with us right now, but you mentioned your wife, Anita.
Yep, she's inside. Yep.
How really it was not just you, it was you two.
Right.
What was it like?
Well, it was funny. When we first started, we first started out here in spring of 90, we had 5 athletes. We had a few more, they quit. We ended up with 3 guys and 2 girls, I think, the first year. And our kids were little at the time, and she was coming to the meets anyway, but they would not pay me a female coaching still, but I had to coach the girls, So she was coming anyway, and she had long jumped prior to Title IX, you people. So there was not high school athletics in the early 70s necessarily. And she had long jumped. And so she was at their meets anyway with our kids. So I said, hey, we'll put you up here. And she handled a lot of the back stuff, and we got her a coaching supplement. And then she took over long jump, took over some of the field events, and then did cross country with me. And we were at every meet together for 32 years at Trussville.
Right.
So yeah. So she was a big part of it. She's a huge part of what happened. I wouldn't have, because but it's also hard to bring your work home because it never ended.
Right. Right. There's a hard separation.
There's a hard separation. Yeah.
What advice would you give to your younger self looking back? Now that you're older and
Well,
wiser.
like I said, earlier, the question earlier, don't get in a hurry.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest thing, was when you're young, you're in a hurry, when I first started out here, I knew where we started at. I was more excited to take a program on that didn't really have a program.
Mm-hmm.
They had a facsimile of one, but I wanted to build it, and I was given to it. You do what you want to do with it. And that's just sort of carte blanche as a coach to just don't get us in trouble, don't embarrass us. and I was able to do what I wanted to do. Don't get in a hurry. The championships will come. The individuals will come. The biggest thing is to build a solid program, build one that the kids want to be a part of, build one that the parents want to be a part of, and they want their kids to be a part of. And you're there for the kids. And that's the thing, is that all that other ancillary, the championships and the state individuals and all these things will come. Don't get in a hurry. Be steady in what you do.
Be steady, yep. When did you know it was time to retire?
Like we were talking about off cameras, that it's just I found that my patience wasn't there with age, what it was, and I found that as we talked about earlier, that societal changes I didn't relate to the kids. I went from being the young feisty coach to the dad figure to the granddad figure, because here I am, I'm your head coach, but I'm the guy with the gray hair and the gray beard, and then a lot of people are out here and they're like, hey, you coached my dad or you coached my mom, and and it was great, but I wanted to get out before I became too I don't want to say the word bitter, but I became too ready to get out. I wanted to get out while it was still fresh on me. We were very fortunate that Tom Esslinger came in and took over for me, and it turned out great. But that's how I knew. I wanted to get out while I was still excited about it, and I still want to go back and see a meet or two.
Sure.
I didn't want to get out. I didn't want to wait till I was so bitter that I had to leave.
Yeah. So with all this free time, you've done a lot of traveling.
Yes.
Right. But you just got back from a really long trip. Tell us about that a little
bit. We got back from 5 weeks in Newfoundland. And for you people that don't know, there's Maine. Take the ferry over, the 4-hour ferry to Nova Scotia. You drive 2 days north of Nova Scotia. You take the 7-hour ferry and you're in Newfoundland. Then you take the ferry north of Newfoundland and you're in Labrador. And that's where we were for 5 weeks. And that's sort of what we do now. We travel, as you and I were talking. We see a lot of former students, a lot of former athletes along the way, and they know we're coming. If Noah stays in Dallas and we go through Dallas in the spring, I'll see him there. But it's really about catching up with people and seeing parts of the country. It started out when we were young and we were coaching together, we only had the month of June off. Yeah. And so it was the only time we could take our 2 girls and go away with them. And so we would leave for the month of June, Trussville, and we would go away and go on the road with them. That's how it started.
Yeah. What has life looked like post-coaching? You talked about a little bit with Esslinger and then traveling, but is there anything in the day-to-day that you're doing?
Well, yeah, I still work for I do special projects for Trussville City Schools. I work for the superintendent. And then I got a little side gig, driving trucks when I want to. And then I still work for the HSA, the head referee at the outdoor meet and one of the referees at the indoor meet. And, so it stays busy.
Sure.
I work when I want to work. I have a lot of people still call me, still some for advice. I don't know that I have much more to give, but it's there. I get to talk to young guys like you.
Right.
It's exciting. I enjoyed it. I'm 66, and it's a good time.
Yeah. Well, Coach, we really appreciate your time. There's a lot of stories like yours that are still out there that still need to be told, and that's what we're trying to do here at the Track Record.
Yep.
We're trying to tell the stories of alumni, current athletes, coaches, past and present. And so if you got somebody, comment, let us know who we should go after next. Maybe get Noah Igbenogany.
Yep, and then as we were talking before, you young guys, don't give up the idea of coaching the sport that you love. We need young coaches to come in. We need you to be excited. Ignore the stuff out there about getting paid and not getting paid, and ignore all that. Go do what you love, be around what you love, find some small school that needs you, start the program from scratch, deal with the ups and downs with it, but make a difference in somebody's lives in the future.
All right, guys, you heard it here first. This is the Track Record. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.